Good morning. Good morning. What's up, folks? How's everybody doing this morning? Hope you're doing well. JTW here with another Xtrades FOMO live stream. Let's take a quick look at some of the economic data that just came out. We'll talk briefly about the Fed's decision to cut rates by 50 basis points yesterday. I know, it was documented. The overwhelming consensus was a quarter point or 25 basis points uh, rate cut. We got a little bit of surprise in that the Fed decided to 2x that. I personally thought that there was an outside chance at 50 basis points. I certainly wasn't setting it as my expectation, but I also didn't think and said as much in the chats yesterday that 50 basis points was totally an impossible out of the question number to see. So we did see that Fed signaling that they want to remain aggressive about their dual mandate of maintaining low unemployment and as close to a 2% inflation rate as they possibly can. I think Powell mentioned specifically, I don't think he did mention specifically that inflation seems to be settling around 2.2%. So it seems like much of what they have done with regards to quantitative tightening has been effective. And so now it's really at a point where they are trying to, I would say, quote unquote, stick the soft landing. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how the markets continue to react to that rate cut decision. Again, so far positive this morning. Looking at initial jobless claims, there was a previous reading of 231. Consensus expectation for this morning's data was 230. So 230,000 new initial jobless claims. That actually settled quite a bit lower, I would say, about 10,000 lower. 219 was the actual reading on jobless claims. So I think that's kind of going to be the big number for the morning. The market is up against a little bit of a potential double top here if we're looking at things through the lens of ES, which is what we like to do as we kind of get ourselves ready for the day here. But as you can see, even though SPY is at new all-time highs, ES is coming up on some areas that were tested outside of market hours and seems to be finding a little bit of resistance. We've got some, I believe these are old fib extension targets, and this 57.7425 seems to be giving the market a little bit of trouble here this morning, but we have put in some new demand zones underneath. And actually, I was making some adjustments because the contracts rolled over, so I haven't finished putting these all in yet. We do have another one right here, though, that I would keep on watch as far as kind of near term demand zones below. And obviously, with things being where they are, we pretty much cut through any existing supply zones that we had to really wrestle with. So, yeah, we'll see if we can break through this double top kind of current all-time high on futures. SPY looks pretty strong this morning. These numbers look pretty good this morning. And yeah, I mean, that rate cut, I think, was a good signal to the market that the Fed is going to, like I said, remain aggressive about pursuing their execution of their dual mandate to maintain low unemployment and also maintain low inflation. Do we move live videos from Discord to YouTube? Yeah, we are doing these live sessions on YouTube, Salmoon. So, or no, I'm sorry, Simon. Sorry, I'm a little bit far away from that particular screen. That lowercase I looks like a L at this distance and that text size. So yes, I mean, we are generally speaking, most of the focus and effort is on the YouTube side of the house. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Hope everybody else is doing well. Feel free to chime in, say good morning if you are around. We're getting ready to go through some trade plan recaps, and then we'll start working on some new trade plans to close out the week and see how we want to finish kind of leveraging some of these moves that we're seeing in a post FOMC rate decision market now that we know what the cut is, and that was a 50 basis point cut. So again, I would say a surprise on the size of the cut. Not an out of the question number, but definitely a surprise. Expectations were overwhelmingly hovering around 25 basis points. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of our trade plan recaps. We did member selected tickers that I published Sunday evening, and then we'll get to our trade plans that we did on Tuesday. While I'm working my way through these, feel free to chime in. Let me know if you guys have any tickers that you want me to work on this morning. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, buddy. If you guys have any other, you don't hear anything on YouTube? Why don't you hear anything on YouTube? Is anybody else having issues hearing me on the YouTube side of things? It looks like audio and everything is picking up fine on my end as far as what my streaming software and all that is saying. Yeah, I mean, everything looks good to go here. Let me know if you guys don't hear me, Simon or Chris. Maybe check your settings, make sure everything's good. But yeah, you should hear me. Looks like my audio is good on my streaming software. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you, Patel. I appreciate it. All right, so NVIDIA, what are we looking at here? Well, NVIDIA did give us a breakdown to the put side of the plan. We talked about this. It was kind of too quick to do anything about it there on Monday, but Tuesday, pre-market, we talked about this. It hit 118.90 and rejected. That was our stop loss average down for the put side of the trade plan. Ultimately did give us a confirmed breakdown and moved all the way to PT1 off of that stop loss average down rejection there at 118.90. So the move 118.90 down to 115.06. If you caught that short play, it did continue down, did test right here. Look, it happened very quick and the reaction was pretty rapid, but came down, tested PT2 right before close yesterday, and then kind of hovered, struggled around it, below it as resistance, but ultimately moving with the market here this morning with a nice gap up, but finding a confluence of resistance here this morning at 117.26. That is going to be a key level to break here this morning with that 333 SMA key, what was support, now resistance level there at 117.26. So keep that on watch. I would say if we do break over that, things could make a decent move to the upside. I would set my target at 118.90, first price target, and set my stop loss average down there at 115.57. That gap opened up right to that level and continued off of it. So I would not want to see us back below that, or else we're more than likely going to fill that gap and potentially push lower, at which point I'd say, okay, cut and look to re-enter if you really like NVIDIA for longs and are bullish off of some of these support levels. So NVIDIA looking good so far. We've had downside targets play out, potential upside early entry if we can break back over 117.26. All right, Micron. This was another one that played out to the downside, but also, again, kind of moved too quickly, at least on the initial move on Monday, for me to be comfortable doing anything with this particular plan. It ultimately did push back up after coming down and testing close to PT2, not really touching it, but kind of got within a reasonable range. I mean, it's only 40 cents difference there. It looks a lot bigger than it is if I kind of that's what she said. Yeah, got pretty close to PT2 there, but definitely a premature bounce there as far as it happened a little bit, I'd say with too far of a distance from our price target to really call that like a good hit of that PT2. Yeah, we can take a look at MDB and IWM. Alchemy, hope you're doing well. Yeah, and I couldn't resist that "that's what she said" joke. It was too easy. I accidentally set myself up for it. Anyway, what's up, Strife? Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, brother. All right, so what we've seen since then, we've seen some testing back up in this resistance range. It did ultimately reject that. Going into market open yesterday, gave us a back test after breaking down of the put entry pretty much on that first 15-minute candle of the day. That took us down to PT1 plus, and it's consolidated against that and is now trying to continue up with the market. I'd be watching for a break back above that 90.20 level, but really I'd say the bigger opportunity is probably on a break back over 91.10 if we see that take place. at which point I'd set my stop loss at 90.20 and set my target up there at 92.90. So MU trade plan played out to the downside, potential recovery move underway. We'll see. Again, I think it really needs to break over 91.10 for that to come into effect. So make sure you're marking those levels down. If this plan is of interest to you, make sure you're setting your alerts so you know what to do and when to do it, because I'm not always updating these charts with some of the things that we're kind of talking about on the fly. That allows me to kind of stay in rhythm and keep going. All right, so with that, last but not least from the member selected trade plans was Snowflake. This one saw a nice rejection there of the stop loss average down, pushed down below the put entry there off of that rejection. Opened up the following day. I'm going to take a quick look at this actually. This was probably close to a confirmed break of the stop loss average down. Doesn't look super solid, but it would really kind of, this one would depend on how I saw this playing out in real time. Like if we had given this little print above and kept getting bought up off that 113.79, that might give me some pause. But the other thing that would have kept me in this, and this is really where indicators can be that difference maker between taking a realized loss or holding a trade that will ultimately become profitable. Neptune kind of had our bearish level, key bearish selling pressure right there at 114.09. We never broke above that on the 15-minute. Again, I didn't personally trade snow. I don't generally trade snow. I will do trade plans for it by request, but the bid-ask spread on snow is just so wide and wonky, and I've never liked dealing with tickers where I've got to really game the system, I guess, to try to get good fills, is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, personally, I don't trade Snowflake all that much, but again, this would have been a difference maker for me if I was trading really any ticker, as far as Neptune maintaining that bearishness selling pressure there just above the stop loss average down. I would have given it that little bit of extra room to see if it did invalidate that and flip things bullish. That never happened. Ultimately, PT1 to the downside hit, and we've bounced from there going into pre-market. Trying to push back up through this range. Would be interesting to watch snow if it does break 114.37. Not saying I would be jumping into for upside right away, because there are some interesting rejections in this range back here just above that level, but certainly a level of interest for me. If it could break above and hold above that level, might be interesting for shares. Again, I'm not personally going to touch options on snow. Boeing was one that we did on Tuesday's live stream. This has ultimately been a, no news, nothing to see here. Just a reminder, we do have a potential buy the dip entry off of 150.08 if you're really bullish on Boeing, or, excuse me, you want to find a good level to try to start building a long-term equity position or long-term leap position on Boeing. 150.08 might be a good spot to do it if we see signs of a bounce. But ultimately, nothing has played out or developed as far as any of these trade plans going into effect on Boeing. And then last but not least, Intel. Intel has pulled back after that news about them kind of opening up their foundries for manufacturing chips for other companies. They have since pulled back and now seems to be struggling, dipping a little bit below the put entry here. Overall, things mixed, I would actually say, here on the 15-minute. I say mixed. We do have the bearishness here on Neptune, but also 200, 333 SMA have caught up. We're in a range of buying pressure based on those moving averages. So this will be an interesting one to keep on watch. Intel certainly gets interesting. If it can break back over 22.18, there could be an early entry there to play up to that 23.37 level. So keep this on watch. Intel trying to show some signs of bullishness here, but also interesting little potential liquidity sweep. No downside targets hit yet, and there definitely was a confirmed downside entry. So I'm kind of rooting for near-term downside, at least a retest of PT1 as support before this really gets a bounce, but that's just because I'm rooting for the plan to succeed. So with that being said, let's get to some new trade plans. I've got some ticker requests that you guys have submitted. Thank you so much for that. If you've just joined us, please feel free to say good morning. I hope you guys are doing well, and good morning right back to you. So let's go. We've got a couple of people talking about MDB, or a big spread when I checked it yesterday. Okay, let's take a look at MDB. That's weird, Chris. Yeah, I think everybody else is. Do you just have your YouTube volume turned down, possibly? Yeah, it seems like everybody else can hear on the YouTube side of things. So, sounds like a you problem, bro. I kid, I kid. All right, so let's see what we've got on MDB. We actually have an old or recent trade plan here. It's never really truly materialized, actually. So I wonder if we just continue to run with this. It's essentially been in pretty strong consolidation since that earnings report. So this could be one that's just waiting to break out. Um, Am interested by these couple little dips that got just below that were pretty good fake outs to the downside. I haven't seen anything that looks like a real convincing attempt to break that 298.24. And that is a placeholder level. I know that because I've got that blue color on this level. So it's a level that I'm kind of speculating that there's a level around there. I see signs of support and resistance, but maybe nothing confirmed. And so I wonder if it is actually a little bit lower. I do see a little something there. I don't know if we're going to have any. Oh, yeah, we might. That's not very helpful, though. Let's just look for any kind of, price history in this range, and we may be hard pressed to find that. Well, here we go. Yeah, you know what? There could be something right about here. Let's see if that's the difference maker and where those bounces have happened. Yeah, it's a little bit lower than those, even. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to make some slight adjustments to this now that we've seen this price action play out a little bit more. I think the upside looks good, though. Downside, I would make some small adjustments here based on how it's moved since we did this trade plan. Let me go ahead and do this way. There we go. This is going to go away entirely. So then the question becomes, though, where's a good stop loss? I think that there's also, yeah, there's a level right around here that I think needs to be PT1 if we are looking at this entry below 273.53. So let's change this up a bit. That's our entry. So stop loss. Like this. Oops. Need to delete that. Kind of like this 280, 281 level as a stop loss if we're taking an entry at 273.53. I do like that first target there at 261.98. It's an interesting level. I don't have yet. Yeah. Like this is a second price target. So yeah, I think this downside trade plan, looking at it with fresh eyes, that did need some adjusting. Third target, yeah, I think we're going to stick with 246.73 though on that third target. So this is what the MDB trade plans wind up looking like. Yeah, that upside potential is pretty good on this one. It just needs to really give us a nice break over that 298.24, and it could make pretty good moves. All right, so let's talk through this. There's that there and watch lists. So what are we looking for here on MDB? We're looking for a break above 298.24. That could open a big move to the upside, which could take us up all the way to 322.51. I would certainly scale out for some profits on the way up, possibly around 312.20, but ultimately I would be looking for continuation with enough time on your contracts to take it up to 322.51 at that first price target. Over 322.51, we're looking at targets at 333.03 and 342.13 with a stop loss average down at 286.30. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 273.53. That should give us targets at 261.98, 252.43, and 246.73 with a stop loss average down at 282.81. Did I have a sound glitch on YouTube? If I did, let me know. I'm not, again, seeing anything that looks like it's... Don't know why that would be happening. Everything looks like it's taking up just fine in my streaming software. Maybe I'm getting a little too far away from the mic or something when I'm talking. I'll try to stay a little closer to it. So yeah, my apologies if there's been any kind of sound issues this morning. Everything looks 5x5 on my streaming software. So, all right, let's get to some more trade plan requests that we've got this morning. I've seen a few come in. Oh gosh, where are we? QQQ. Take a look at that for Ryan Brown. And interestingly, QQQ also kind of right in an old trade plan range with a couple of changes here that we'll definitely want to make note of. Gapped right up over this key level here at 478.54. The gap to fill in this level is a little bit high for that gap, but make that small adjustment and that gap's right there. We like to break above 43.49 last time. Let's see. 485.90. We didn't quite get to that on that last break above, and I don't think... Oh, we do have some price history, but it's not a lot. Let's take a look at this on some smaller time frames here. This is what I would do as I'm looking through things for the SPY plan, for example. 483.49. Really kind of getting into the micro levels of things. And with ETFs that I just think do a better job of developing and confirming support and resistance levels, that can be key. Where are we at? 481.30 pre-market. Hmm. So I'm debating a little bit on this one, and yeah, apologies if I'm kind of going silent as I'm thinking through this. I kind of like a potential entry around this level. Just the one problem I have is we did have that one really clean, pretty firm rejection there. Was support previously. I think the upside really does look better over that level. So yeah, I think if you're not already in position for upside, I want to see this 485.90 out of the way. I think we also need to adjust this stop loss. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at this 42.50 level. I think that's about where I was looking at a moment ago. Back here. Yeah, yeah, I'd have it at right about there, 42.50. It's micro level. So yeah, 42.61 stop loss average down for that upside plan. I like PT1 and PT2 where they are at. There is this gap to fill, well, to get some liquidity prints up through there. I'd go ahead and take a shot at this weekly level then at 496.66 on a break above that for the upside. Downside, there is a gap to fill below. Typically, when you get in a gap, it does fill. So I think there's a shot down to a PT1 pretty tight as far as risk to reward on the first target and stop loss average down. But I like where that 481.28 is showing some potential resistance there. YouTube 486 or 496. 496.66 up here, Ryan, if that's your question. In fact, I don't think we have any key targets in the 486 range. We're looking for a break over 485.90 to play up to 489.46 as a first target. But again, 478.54 to the downside. I say we leave our stop loss from that previous QQQ plan. They're at 481.28. First target on the gap fill at 475.98 to the downside. Second target, I do like where we had this first target previously from the old trade plan. So we use that as a PT2, taking us down to 471.33, and then below that, could actually be slightly lower. 467.31. It's not going to be a game changer as far as profitability on those contracts go. So it could be slightly lower, but I'm gonna leave it at 467.93 for that third price target. So this is what our QQQ trade plans look like overall. Things looking quite bullish. I'm not seeing anything indicator wise that gives me a strong deviation or need to deviate from the plan that we currently have underway here. Just again, be careful. Start small on the downside plan. That is a tight, window and tight risk reward getting to that PT1 level. And also, when gaps fill, they tend to bounce, or things tend, well, downside gaps fill, things tend to bounce. Upside gap fills, things tend to reject. So, anyway, this is, or these our these are our, there we go. Golly, get your words out, buddy. QQQ trade plans. Live stream, live and direct. All right. And here in the Discord chat, and last but not least, in the watch list. All right, so what are we looking for on QQQ? We're looking for a break over 485.90 to play continuation to the upside, taking us to 489.46, 493.08, and 496.66 with a stop loss average down at 482.61. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 478.54. That should give us targets at 475.98. 471.33 and 467.93 with a stop loss average down at 481.28. Those are your QQQ trade plans. Make sure you mark those levels on your charts. Make sure you set your alerts on those levels so you know what to do and when it's time to pay attention to these trade plans. Because until they go into effect, unless we've got some kind of alternate approaches that we've discussed, which you can also set alerts and set your levels for that as well, until you get an alert, essentially, no need to just sit there and stare at those charts. It can allow you to focus on other stuff. So just to run you through this real quick, Dunia engine. And I've posted this in the chats, but I'll talk through it. I've talked through this a couple times before. So when you're looking at my charts, again, where I don't have kind of the time or the luxury of sitting there and typing out all the levels and type, I've got a solid level for my call entry, right? Heavy dotted line for my stop loss average down level. So if we get a break above this, then I'm looking for targets at the dashed lines, 489.46, 493.08, and 496.66. Solid line being the entry, heavy dotted line being your stop loss average down here at 42.61. This long position drawing in TradingView will also help you visualize this. So this is your area of risk because we're getting it above this and stopping out below that. That creates your area of risk. And then this creates your overall area of reward with each price target mapped out along the way. Generally speaking, I like to gauge sort of how good of a setup the risk reward is based on just getting to PT1. So as you can see here, we've got essentially a 1-to-1 risk reward to the upside, and I think pretty much the same scenario for the downside as well. Actually just slightly, right at about a 1-to-1. Negligible difference slightly below. So again, that's why I was kind of urging caution on the downside. And then same thing for the downside, right? Solid line, break below that, gives you targets at the dashed lines. Heavy dotted line is your stop loss average down. There's your area of risk. That's your area of profit or reward. So anyway, I hope that helps Dunia. You be able to read and follow these plans, because this is how I set my charts up every time to make it easy for folks to follow. We kind of got a little bit of a system here that should, again, make things easy to pick up and read, even if you only have the chart to look at. All right, what other ticker requests did we have? IWM from Navy Plum, and I think after this, I'll need to break away and get to work on the SPY plan. Let's see what IWM looks like this morning. Not surprising, gap up, probably gap up to, no, gotta say, I was almost expecting it to be a gap up to all-time highs, but it doesn't look to be the case. IWM I don't follow super closely. It is one to pay attention to, though, when the market is moving into small and mid caps. Yeah, we do have some prints above. Nothing that looks really solid as confirmed support or resistance. July 31st. I want to see what this looks like on a slightly smaller time frame. So there's that gap to fill below. There is an established, although minimally established, level right here, 225.34. We've got all-time highs at 228.61, 63. Might not be dead on accurate, right? So the question becomes, is that a move that we can play for upside? We've had a couple of rejections. I'm going to go back and look at this. Yeah, that's a little bit higher than that pre-market rejection there. Both were during the pre-market session. 225.34, but that was the one that was kind of a very thinly but established, tested during regular trading hours for resistance a few times. All right, let's take a shot at this. What I'm thinking is a break over 225.34, play for a first target at this all-time high there at 228.63. Stop loss average down here on the gap entry, taking us down to 222.71. Below that, we fill the gap and potentially go even lower. But gap fills do tend to bounce, so it skews the risk reward the wrong way, in my opinion. If you're really willing to kind of diamond hand this, you could move the stop loss average down to 221.12. But me personally, aim small, miss small, keep your wins big, keep your losses tiny. So in that kind of mentality, I'm going to leave it where it is there at 222.71 on the stop loss average down. Downside, where does downside become very attractive? This is an interesting level. Right in this range. Test this real quick, or check it out real quick. I want to just make sure before we go. So I'm kind of thinking that gives us room down to near 215. Yeah. $2.31. Yeah. So I would set it like this. And I know I need to go back and finish the upside trade plan, but I was just kind of catching these levels as I was seeing them. So I wanted to go ahead and mark them down and at least get the ball rolling there. I think we could share a stop loss average down with the upside. So the one thing we definitely need to do, I've got some trend-based fib extensions that we're going to need to put in here, because over 228.63 we are at all-time highs. When we're at all-time high, we need something to use for a target. That's not a confirmed trend there. That's a little bit better. Get any other touches leading up to that? Not there, I don't think. Could be. It's a little steeper, actually, now that I'm looking at this. There's nothing that it traces back to there. Okay. So what I'm thinking then, yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so that gives us a trend-based fib extension. We haven't really seen a confirmed pullback yet, so I'm going to base it off of the all-time high. Actually, that's where we should be doing this. Sorry. I totally got focused on sort of recent price action without even thinking through the fact that if we're going to do a trend-based fib extension, we should do it off the trend that set the all-time high. So that, Looks like it sets up, yep, right about there, which would give us now a trend-based fib extension here, here. That's an interesting potential confluence there. I think it's sitting, yeah, a little bit more like that, possibly. No. Yeah, I think there's just our little potential level that we put down here as our call entry. Might need to be a tad higher. Again, we're basing this off of pretty limited candle data as far as what's been up in this range. Let's see what this looks like. Whoops, didn't need to move that. Could even be actually a little bit higher, like right here. 225.84, 228.63. Looking at it with some of this, I think this is a little bit low. All right, I'm actually going to make a slight adjustment here, or I'm going to probably add this as a stop loss average down for the upside. Then once we break over that all-time high, we don't have really any choice but to take shots at these fib extensions. A lot of times I feel like the first run up, the key top winds up being at the 0.618 versus the 50% fib. So I'm going to use that as our third price target. There is a level in here though at 231.80. Just be mindful of it. So that's the upside trade plan. Downside, yeah, I liked how that set up. Entry to PT1 and stop loss average down. PT2, 213.17. But I think, yeah, there's actually a level here at 213.94. I think makes more sense as a second price target. Sorry, let me clean some of this up because my little system is a lot less useful if there's like multiple trade plans all visible on the chart at the same time, right? All right, that's better. So third price target. That's an interesting, I think 211. Yeah, 211. All right, so this is what the IWM trade plans look like. 221. The question is, do we tighten up that downside plan? That stop loss average down seems a little bit liberal, a little bit too much risk being assumed on this. Yeah, there is a level right around here. I think we can use to tighten up this stop loss a little bit. So, yeah, that looks better. All right, let's talk through this real quick, and then we are going to wrap it up for this week's live streams. Hope you all have enjoyed these. Hope you will come back every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please, please, please come to the YouTube side of things. Helps me kind of keep all my focus in one place. Also, if you haven't already done so, make sure you like and subscribe to the Xtrades YouTube. It's free to do that. It's free to join these sessions on YouTube. And there is definitely some money to be made when we sit down and put our heads together work up these trade plans. So here are the IWM live stream plans. Let me post this here. And of course, options watch list. Whoops. All right, so for IWM, we are looking for a break over 225.84 for continuation up to the current all-time highs there at 228.63. Over that, we're looking at fib extension targets at 230.33 and 233.16 with a stop loss average down there at 223.84. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 219.69. I know that seems like forever away, but I think it makes sense to keep that entry there. Otherwise, there are just all kinds of opportunities for random little bounces that could throw a plan out the window pretty quickly. So below 219.69, we're looking for targets at 216.31, 213.94, and 211.01 with a stop loss average down at 221.67. Let's go. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me again this week. I do appreciate y'all being here. We will be back next Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, both in the Xtrades Discord and on YouTube. Please make sure to come check out the Xtrades YouTube channel. We've got all kinds of fantastic content. In addition to these live streams, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And make sure that you come back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, I want to thank you guys for joining me again. As we always say here on these FOMO live streams, plan your trades and trade your plans. Keep your wins big, keep your losses small. Go out there and secure the bag. I will see you guys in the chats. For those of you in the Xtrades Discord community, SPY plan coming at you in the options watch list here in the next 10 minutes. All right, so with that, everybody have a fantastic day. Finish your week strong. I will talk to you all soon. Feel free to shoot me a DM or a message if I can be of any help in the meantime. Thank you again so much. Take care. Have a great day.